Good morning, everyone. I can almost hear you saying, "Good morning, Pastor Albert." I remember when we began our Lent, somehow we talked about giving up something, and I talked about we need to give up something we love. Little did I know, we were forced to give up. Now we're forced to give up the precious time that we come together, the sacred hour that we come together to worship God. I terribly miss you. I hope you're doing well. Um, but I'm so grateful that we can do this through technology, that we're not giving up completely, but we can connect with each other through phone, through Zoom, and through other means. And let me encourage you, if you have any thoughts that you want to share, email me, call me. I want to connect with you. Before we move further, I want to read you the scripture. John chapter 9. As Jesus walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's work might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming, when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva, and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back, able to see. So it's interesting that when disciples saw blind man, the immediate question was, whose fault is it? Who sinned? Whereas Jesus' perspective is very different. His perspective is what I call opportunity perspective. Instead of trying to figure out who to blame, he's asking, what if this is an opportunity? He says, oh no, it's not the person's fault. No, it's not the parents' fault. It's really nobody's fault. Then why is he blind? He's blind, and this gives an opportunity for us to glorify God. Of course, he's not just talking about this one particular incident. He probably presents that every moment in life is an opportunity. We can use it as an opportunity for us to glorify God. We're in a very difficult place, very challenging place. It's not just that we have to give up the sacred hour of worship, that many of us can't really go to work. Many of us can't really socialize in the ways that we used to. We live with this sense of threat to our well-being. We don't really know how many people are sick. And when they get sick, more people get sick, we don't really know what will happen. Of course, this is a time of anxiety. However, what if Jesus asks us the same question? What if this is an opportunity as well? What if this is just not a time for us to be afraid, but this is a time for us to glorify God? How so? I remember a friend of mine at the church that just canceled one Sunday, one service, not because they have to, but they just chose to cancel service. Then instead of going to church for worship, they organized so all the members of the church, instead of going to church, they engage in community project, service project within their town. Their motto was, don't go to church, be the church. Don't go to church, be the church. So some people just cleaned out the park. Some people went around and they visited some of the neighbors who need help in fixing things in the house. And there are people who had the mobility issues, so who couldn't really go around and clean the park or engage in any other volunteer activities. So they got together in a small room in the church and they had a letter writing campaign, not writing letters to the elected officials, but writing letters to their neighbors, expressing the love of Jesus Christ to those who haven't come to church for a while, or just expressing appreciation of their neighbors for those who don't necessarily come to church. It was an opportunity to share the love of Christ with the people around the church. Of course, we didn't choose to close the church, but what if this is an opportunity for us to shine? What if this is an opportunity for us to express our love? I appreciate members of our community calling each other, checking on each other. I really appreciate the way that they express their love and sharing, especially in a time like this. You remember Jesus said, "The people will know that we are His disciples by the love, by the ways that we love each other." This is how we love each other. One of our members are also compiling list of volunteers as we call people if there are people who are in need, such as picking up some some food in the grocery store. We're compiling list of the volunteers. If you're interested in, please let us know. So when we find the people who need help, we'll be able to match them with the volunteers. I want to encourage you not just to call each other, but call the people in the community that you know to see if they're okay, to see if they need some help. Maybe you can call the people who come to our church dinner all the time, even though they don't really come to our church. Maybe you can extend our love this way. This is not a good time. This is a trying time. This is a challenging time. But that doesn't mean that it has to be a time that we get depressed. This may be the time for Christ Church to shine. This may be the opportunity for us to glorify God. But I also want to talk to you about another opportunity. Yes, serving other people is a very important part of who we are. But also, this could be an opportunity for some of you to seek rest. Remember our Lenten sermon series? The theme was, "My yoke is easy, and my burden is light." That's what Jesus is saying. Being a Christian does not have to be that it's a hard journey all the time. Even in the midst of crisis, even in the midst of chaos, Jesus was able to sleep in the midst of the storm. And I want to invite you, that especially when you can't go to work, when you work remotely from home, of course it's an anxious time, but maybe you have a gift of 40 minutes that you would have spent in commuting, maybe longer. Instead of trying to just work harder and do other things, maybe you can reserve that time to give your soul rest. What would that mean for you? Some of you may not have any idea how to give your soul rest. Maybe you can just give yourself extra hour of sleep. Maybe instead of working, maybe you can just give yourself half an hour where you can just stroll in the neighborhood and just get fresh air without getting close to any crowd. Maybe this is an opportunity for your family to talk about challenges of in life or what you really appreciate about each other. You may have other ideas, but the key is asking your soul, what do you need? And giving your soul permission to speak. In fact, that is a prayer, isn't it? God invites you to speak. God invites you, your soul, to speak, not just to serve other people, but to express your deepest need. And as you do that, I trust God will bless you in spite of this challenging time, maybe because of the challenges of our time. And I want to encourage you every night when you go to sleep that you pray to God, prayer of thanksgiving. God, I don't really know what will happen tomorrow. Maybe my heart will be anxious again, but I thank you. I thank you, you protected me and my family and my loved one. Have a good night.